The first time I saw her, the air around her seemed to shimmer, like the refraction of sunlight through water. The council members had warned me repeatedly, "Stay away from her world, human. She is dangerous, unpredictable, and far beyond your understanding." But I had never been good at listening to warnings. My name is Captain Elias Wren, and the galaxy is full of warnings I've ignored, some to my regret, some to my fortune. I was a salvage pilot, and my ship, the Peregrine, had been scraping the edges of controlled space for years. I preferred it that way: quiet systems, the hum of ion engines, and the freedom to make my own choices. That was before I entered the orbit of New York Thera, a planet so alive it seemed to breathe beneath the surface of my scanners. The official designation of New York Thera was off-limits, a jewel under the protection of the Galactic Council, inhabited by an alien race known as the Alari. Their skin reflected starlight, their eyes were pools of liquid opal, and their minds were rumored to possess abilities that humans called psychic, though the Alari considered that term crude. But I was drawn there irresistibly. The warning that echoed in my ears was not just from the Council. It was from my own instincts. Humans were not supposed to approach royalty uninvited, and she, the alien princess, was beyond royalty. She was a living legend. Yet when my ship's engines cut out mid-orbit, New York Thera's gravity claimed me gently, almost respectfully, pulling the Peregrine toward a lush valley blanketed in iridescent flora. I had expected scouts or soldiers, but what I found was the princess herself. Her first words were not a greeting or a threat. They were a question. "Why are you here?" I stumbled, as humans often do when confronted with beings who seem more dream than flesh. I don't know," I admitted. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't look away. She was as tall as a human would be comfortable with, yet there was a grace in her every movement that made it clear she commanded the attention of everyone and everything around her. "I warned you," she said softly, almost to herself, though I felt her gaze pierce through my very thoughts. "And yet here you are." There was no malice in her voice. Instead, there was curiosity, sharp and unyielding. She approached me, her bare feet silent against the crystalline soil, and reached out to touch the hull of my ship. Her fingers didn't just skim the metal, they seemed to read it, feeling its stress points, its history. "You are human," she said, and there was a note of wonder. "Few of your kind survive this long near the outer borders." "I guess I'm stubborn," I replied, trying to mask my awe with humor. She tilted her head, as if considering whether to deem me amusing or insignificant. Perhaps. And then she did something no one expected. She led me away from the wreckage, through a forest that seemed alive with thought. Trees bent subtly to guide our path. Bioluminescent plants lit the way, and the very wind seemed to whisper around her. I was a visitor in her world, yet she moved as though she were guiding me to a destiny I had not known existed. Over the days that followed, I learned much about New York Thera. Its cities were carved into mountains, rivers of liquid light flowing between spires, defying human architecture. The inhabitants were telepathic in subtle ways. Their thoughts brushed mine without intrusion, gentle waves of curiosity and amusement. And through it all, the princess, whose name was Liara, watched me as if weighing a delicate balance between danger and trust. The council's warnings were never far from my mind. Every night, I went over their words. She is beyond human comprehension. Stay away. One misstep, and the consequences will ripple across the galaxy. And yet, every day, Liara drew closer, sharing moments of laughter, gestures, and a silent understanding that grew heavier with each encounter. It was during one of these walks through the floating gardens that she finally spoke of herself. "I am bound by duty," she said, her voice soft as the wind but carrying a weight I could feel. Our people expect me to marry an Alari prince, to continue our lineage. Yet I feel drawn to you, human. Something about you defies all expectations. You are unshackled by fear, and that is rare. I stopped walking. My mind reeled. You would risk your position for me? She smiled faintly. I do not yet know if it is risk or destiny. Only time will tell. But I sense your courage is not born of arrogance. It is born of choice. That is something our kind rarely encounters. Days turned into weeks. The Peregrine was repaired, thanks in no small part to Liara's guidance, but I found no desire to leave. My missions, my old life, my human companions, all faded in comparison to the living wonder of this planet and the alien who had chosen to walk beside me. Yet peace is always a prelude to conflict. Word of my presence eventually reached the Council and, through them, the elite guardians of New York Thera. Soldiers arrived without warning, their ships dark as void, their weapons charged with energy capable of tearing through the mountains. Liara and I were walking along the River of Light when the first salvo struck. Trees burst into flames of crystal fire. The river flared into violent storms of color. I grabbed her hand instinctively, pulling her to safety behind a rock formation that seemed almost sentient, shielding us from the brunt of the attack. Why? I shouted, the first trace of anger spilling from me. Why would they attack their own princess? They fear change, she replied, her voice calm even as the world around us erupted. They fear choice. They fear the possibility that love, or desire, could override duty. They are not evil, they are guardians. But their understanding is limited. The ensuing battle was unlike any I had faced. New York Thera itself seemed to aid us. Rocks shifted to form barriers, the river's currents swept attackers off course, and the very air hummed with defensive energy. I fought alongside her, though my human weapons seemed trivial compared to the subtle but lethal power of Alari defense. And yet, my determination and unpredictability became a weapon in itself. As the last of the intruders fell, Liara turned to me, her eyes a storm of emotions. You are unlike anyone I have ever known, she whispered. In a world bound by expectation, you are chaos and courage intertwined. I laughed, breathless. I guess that makes us partners in chaos. For a long moment, we simply held each other, the aftermath of destruction and fear washing over us, replaced by relief and exhilaration. But the council was not done. A transmission reached my ship, a stern voice carrying the weight of the galaxy. Captain Wren, your presence on New York Thera is considered an act of defiance. Leave immediately, or you'll be detained. I turned to Liara. Her expression was unreadable, but her hand in mine spoke louder than any words. Do you choose me? I asked. Her answer was simple, yet it reverberated with power. I choose freedom. I choose life. I choose you. We devised a plan, one that would allow me to stay on New York Thera without violating the Council's laws outright. It was daring and unorthodox. Using my salvage expertise and her people's technology, we created a vessel capable of cloaking both the Peregrine and a hidden sanctuary on New York Thera. It was a gamble, but one worth taking. Months passed. Life on New York Thera became a delicate dance of secrecy and discovery. Liara taught me the ways of her people, from their telepathic networks to the manipulation of energy that seemed almost magical. In return, I shared human ingenuity, improvisation, and humor. Slowly, we built a bond not merely of love, but of mutual respect and understanding. The turning point came when Liara's mother, the Queen, confronted us. She was formidable, radiant, and terrifying all at once. Her initial fury melted into contemplation as she observed me. For the first time, a human's courage, loyalty, and ingenuity impressed an Alari elder. "You have done what no Alari has dared," the queen said, her voice carrying through the throne room like a song of stars. "You have won her heart and earned her trust. Perhaps there is a lesson here for us all." The princess smiled at me, eyes sparkling. "You see, love is not a threat. It is evolution." From that day forward, the council allowed my presence openly. I was still human, still a salvage pilot in many ways, but now I had a place among the stars I had once only visited. New York Thera, a planet of legend and danger, had become home. The galaxy continued to spin, unpredictable and wild, but for the first time, I had a certainty. No warning could deter what destiny, when shared, could accomplish. Liara and I walked together along the crystalline rivers, laughed under skies of shifting light, and planned for a future that was entirely our own. And in that future, I was no longer just a human on the edge of the galaxy. I was the companion of a princess, the bridge between worlds, and a testament to the idea that courage and choice, no matter how human, could shape the stars themselves. Even now, I remember the first time she walked to me, ignoring all warnings, and in that step, changed my life forever. The galaxy may be vast, full of danger and mystery, but the heart is where true bravery begins.